Ladles and jelly spoons, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. Yes, this is our little Model A Ford Roadster that we've been working on, and today we're going to see how much further we can get with it. So, let's get on with it. So, in the previous video, we replaced the kit small block V8 with this rather monumental 572 cubic inch big block with tunnel ram. And we also did some work on the interior, made some extensive modifications to the body to actually make this thing fit. And what we're going to do to start with is carry on with the body. I've got some interesting ideas for the paint to see if they'll work. So let's see how far we can get with this. Right, so as I said, we're going to start on the body now, and I've already given it a lick of grey primer, as you can see, and now we're going to hit it with this Vallejo surface primer. This is the German red brown. Now, just before I start doing this, the whole point of this, I don't want this is not going to be like the Freedom Port. It's not going to be absolutely wrecked, but it is going to be old, shall we say. So the idea is to look like something that's, you know, someone's in the process of restoring, but it's not finished yet. Anyway, so let's start with this. Alright, that's the body. Now we're going to do dashboard. And one of the things that's important not to forget at this point is these wheel wells. Like that. And just as we did before, we're going to use the Life Colour Dust and Rust set. I like this set. We're not going to use all of them. We're just going to use Rust Light Shadow and Light Shadow 2. And so we'll start with this one first, the Light Shadow 1. This is the slightly darker one. Right, and what we want to do is just hit the areas sort of on the high spots and sort of around door corners and things like that, you know, edges and corners and whatnot. Now, one of the tricks when you're doing this is you don't want it too uniform, because the trouble is, if you do it too uniform, it just looks like another colour coat. So don't worry about it if it comes out a bit weird, or if you've got more paint in some places than others, that's fine. Right, there you go. And now we'll go over it again, just in some slightly more select areas with the lighter rust shade. Right, and this is the Light Shadow 2 going on. Right, and there's our lighter shade. Right, now I'm going to seal it all with this high coat double acrylic, and then we can carry on from there. So now this varnish has had a chance to dry, the next thing I want to do is start with our paint layers, colour coats. So I'm going to do 2 colour coats on this. The first one will be this XF83 medium sea grey. That will be like a primer coat, and then I'm going to put black on top of that with hairspray in between. So I'm going to do a little bit of salt chipping as well. So I've got some salt here. This is actually powdered salt, but I'm not going to do too much on this. This is not going to be like the Freedom Ford. There's only going to be a little tiny bit of salt on this, and most of it I just want the paint to look worn, not destroyed, if you like. So the first step is give it a spray of this, like that. And now we take our salt. And I think I mentioned before, but I generally buy rock salt, and then I grind it up to the consistency I want. So this is almost powdered. I'm just going to put a little bit here and there. I'm not using a lot, because like I said, I don't want this to be too weathered, if you like. I'm just going to do basically as much as that. And now we'll spray this XF83 over the top. Right, now that's done, the next step is to hit it with a hairspray again, and then we're going to give it a coat of XF1 flat black. Right, so let this dry for a bit. My daughter's just turned up. Say hello, Katie.
Hello, Katie.
Anyway, so I've got some water warming up in my Airwick wax burner, just to, I think this works a little bit better with warm water than it does with cold. So what we're going to do now is just get this wet.
I thought you said...
No.
Wasn't me, I didn't touch it.
No, I know. It's just... I thought I said what?
What? I thought you said that you just dried it.
I did, and now I'm wetting it again.
Why?
What?
What's the point?
Well, because I need to reactivate the hairspray. This is salt chipping, hairspray chipping. So in between each layer of paint, there's a layer of hairspray. And hairspray is water soluble. So what you do is you spray the paint on, you spray the hairspray on, then you spray paint over the top, and then you wet it, and then it all starts coming off again, you see, like that.
Well, I never knew.
Well, there you go, now you know.
It looks like a car.
It is a car.
Wow.
But you see the way that paint's coming off. See? And it reveals the paint layers underneath. Clever that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fun with chemistry. Yeah, I know. You don't really do chemistry, do you? That sounds too much like learning, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, you're right.
See, what we've got to be careful of is I don't want to take too much of this paint off. Because I don't want this, see that's coming right off there, that's just tearing it off. Pigeons out there, noisy swines.
Woo, woo.
Yes, you're not a pigeon, thank you.
He started it.
So hopefully this isn't going to take too much to do this. Sometimes you have to really scrub at this to get it off, but this actually seems to be coming off fairly easily. Which is actually sometimes not the best thing, because you have to be very careful not to
scrape all the paint off.
not to scrape all the paint off, exactly.
See, always right.
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far.
Crikey. At least I don't fly into walls like the bird does.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's because he's a parrot and he's an idiot. Right. So I will get on, do the rest of this, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Right, there we go. So like I say, I'm not doing a great deal on this, just make it look a bit old. So what I'm going to do is let this dry completely, and the other bits I've done as well, and then I'm going to seal them with some matte lacquer. Right, so I've just given this a quick lick of hairspray again, and I'm just about to apply this template that I just cut, because I want to put some flames on the side, because obviously, because hot rod, right? But what I'm doing is I deliberately made this a bit kind of, well, tacky, because I want it to look you know, a bit sort of cheap and nasty. Right, let's line that up at the front there. So I'm going to start off with a very light dusting of this flat white. Right, that'll do. See how light that is? Now I'm going to give it a coat of this flat yellow. Like that. And finally I'm going to give it some details with this X27 clear red. Here you go, I think that will do. Now let's see if we can get this stencil back off. There you go. So what I'll do is I'll give that a minute to dry, and then we're going to hit it and basically try and take it off again. I just really want like an outline of it remaining. Right, and I'm just doing this exactly the same way as I did the others. Just want to get the majority of this off. I know it sounds counterproductive after I've just spent all that time putting it on, but I want it to look really worn and faded. It's almost like the idea of this is someone's, you know, bought a hot rod or found a hot rod that was built years before, and they're trying to restore it. There you go. I'll just give that a bit more of a tidy up, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Right, there we go. That's both sides done. I'll give it another lick of gloss lacquer as well, just to seal it up, and I think we can move on from there. I think we're all getting close to actually being able to put this body together now. Right, one final step before I start putting this body together. I'm going to do a little bit of further weathering on the body. I'm going to use these Crawford and Black oil colours for that. Now I've used these before, and it's quite a good little set. There's a good selection of colours in there. They're actually useless as oil paints. But the reason is there's not a lot of oil in them. There's a lot of pigment but not a lot of oil, which means they're actually perfect for weathering, not great for oil painting. Anyway, I'm going to use some of this ochre yellow to add some streaking and things to the body. So, a bit of cardboard. It's a good idea to do this with oil paints of any brand, because if there is any oil, it soaks into the cardboard. So what I'm going to do is just get a little bit on the brush here and just add a few little dots here and there. Like that. And then we take, this is actually a makeup brush. I think I got this from a charity shop, I think. And basically just like that. But the trick is, you'll see there's some little gaps there, but if you come back up like this, it brings it all up, back up to the top again. You see? And that just adds some nice little streaks. So I'll just do a bit of this all over, and then we'll seal it up with some matte lacquer, and then we can, I think, put the body together. Right, now this is where the fun really starts, because I've 3D printed some bits to go in this car, and now I've got to try and fit them all. So what I've done is made a new gauge cluster for the dashboard, so we're not using the factory gauges. I've got a few other bits as well. Let's see if I can get this on first. Oh, where are my glasses? So that goes there-ish, like that. And then what I've also got are these tiny sets of switches. Now these are made by Black Box Miniatures as well, so this is another set of theirs. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this one's actually going to fit. This is why I did two sets, you see. I think what we'll do is we'll put these ones here. Oh. Like that. I really wanted to put this one on as well, but I don't think it's going to fit on the dashboard. Could put it there, I suppose. What do you reckon? Put it there? Oh. There we go. Alright, let's very carefully put this to one side, because the next thing we need to look at is this little beastie here, and that, which is probably very difficult for you to see, but that is a Haltech Nexus R5 vehicle management unit. I created this in Tinkercad and 3D printed it. So it's not an exact copy, but it will do for this. So what I'm going to do is I've got some wire here. This is 0.75 millimeter wire, and what I'm going to do, because there are, you can see that one because of the red, but you can't see the one on the other side, but there's actually some 0.75 millimeter holes actually molded into the thing. So I can put that in there like that, and then I've got some red wire as well, and we'll do a bit on the other side. And these wires aren't actually going to go anywhere. I'm just going to have them sort of tucked up under the dash, but they look the part. Like that. Now we'll let those dry for a minute, because the other thing I want to do is in the bottom here, you can't really see them, but there are actually some 0.5 millimeter holes, and what I want to try and do is use some of this wire and actually see if I can create a little wiring loom of some description. So I don't know why I'm doing this. I really don't. But the thing is, it's really impressive, because the printer I use my Elgu Mars, and the fact that it's actually printed that antenna, because it has a little Wi-Fi antenna, and that Wi-Fi antenna is less than 0.5 millimeter in diameter, and it's printed it on there quite nicely, which is quite impressive. So I think what I'm going to do, I've actually got an idea here, and I hope this is going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this piece in half like this, and I'm going to get a couple of other bits as well. Right, now I'm going to gather up these pieces like this, and then I'm going to twist them together to make like a wiring loom. Kind of like that. And then what I need to do is get these, I actually want a little bit more. Get these like this, and then I can basically cut these down and put them in the holes. So let me have a little fiddle about with this, and then after I finish shouting and screaming it and dropping it on the floor loads of times, I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, so there's the Haltech wired, he says. So I'll paint those wires up once the glue dries. And the other thing I've got is this. And this is an MSD digital 6AL ignition box. So this needs some wires as well to go to this ignition coil. I know, it's great. Why am I doing this? Just why am I doing this? Anyway. So we just need a couple of wires for this. So we'll do the same thing. I'm just gonna twist these two together, because all I need is a positive and a negative for the coil. And hope that that will fit in there, which it does. So we'll let that dry as well. I need a bit more glue here. Because what I also have is this shifter. And again, I made this in Tinkercad, I just knocked it out very quickly. And what I need is another piece of this wire, because there's a little hole in the front of that. And what I'm going to do, put a little drop of glue on there, pop that in there. Right, let's put that to one side for a minute. And the coil. Because in the floor here, well, you can see that, but there's a little hole there. And that's for the other end of this cable to go through. So we just pop that through there like that. And then hopefully we can put some glue on the bottom of here. And stick that down like that. So I'm just going to hold this for a minute. So just talk amongst yourselves. Off there. And then put a little drop of super glue on there to hold the other end. Like that. Alright. Okay, that will work. So let's paint these wires up. We'll probably have to repaint these once they're in the car, but I just want to get, it's easier to get a coat of paint on it now than when it's all in there. So this won't be so bad to get to anyway, because this is going on the firewall. So we'll let these dry and then we can think about putting it all together. Right, and for my next trick, I will try and put this Haltech in under the dashboard. And I shall try and do this in a fashion where you can actually see what I'm doing, but I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we'll see. Oh, I'm not sure I'm going to do it where I can see what I'm doing. Alright, where are my glasses? Oh. Okay. Let's pop that in. Oh, this is really, really awkward to see. Like that. You can't. I know you can't really see. Honestly, I can't see it either. Right. Okay. Now, it's probably going to fall off as soon as I. Because the next thing we want to do is get this MSD box onto the firewall. Out there somewhere. Stay. Right. Let's let those dry. And then we can think about putting the coil on as well. Alright, I'm just trying to get this coil on. Got one of the wires in, I've just got to get the other one in now. Right, let that dry and then we'll repaint those wires. Okay, so I think we are now in a position where we can put this body together. So let's see how we get on with this. It is a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, now we need to put this in. Okay. Now we'll let that sit up for a few minutes and then we'll put the seat in. Right, that'll do for that. Right, so the body's pretty much done now. I've just got a few bits that I did off camera that I'm just leaving that to dry. And so I've just made a start on the chassis here. So this is going to be fun. It's just all the fiddly bits. So I've just put the chassis in and put the steering arm on. So now I'm going to put the tie rods and things in. So let's see how well this all works out. Now you've got to be careful with these bits because these are left and right handed. Right, let's glue this one in. Alright, I'll get this other one in. And this is where we find out that the axle doesn't fit properly. Oh, get in there. Oh. Just talk amongst yourselves for a minute. We'll get there eventually. Yeah, see, this is the problem with this, is there's a nice big gap there. You can see it right there, so I'm going to have to try and manoeuvre this axle into position. So I think what we'll do is we'll let this dry for a bit and turn our attention to the back. It's a nice thing about doing this like this, you can kind of chop and change from one side to the other. Okay, so that goes in that way up like that. You'll notice I'm using a combination of two different adhesives here because it simply makes life easier. Okay, that goes like that. Now the rear tie rods. Now these are actually, I don't know if you can see that, but these are actually angled, so you have to make sure you get them on the right side. And that goes on there and drops in there. And then this one goes on the other side and does the same. Alright, so we'll let this set up for a minute, then we'll try and finagle this front axle into position, and then I think we can start thinking about putting some paint on. Actually, I'll put the shocks on first, then we can start thinking about putting some paint on this thing. Okay, so I did a couple of little bits off camera, just finished up the suspension and everything, and then I've given the whole thing a can of matte black. It's just to get this high coat matte black out of a rattle can. And what I'm going to do now, I want to actually put some gloss varnish on this, but there's a few other bits that I want to varnish as well, so I'm going to paint those first. So what I'm going to do is these brake drums in XF7 flat red, because we all know red brakes make you go faster. And I also need to do the wheels as well, but I'm going to do those with a slightly different finish, so I'll show you that in a minute. There we go. Now for the wheels and a couple of other bits, I'm going to use this All-Clad 2 chrome, but to do that I need to first apply some black base. So we'll put this on first, then put the lacquer on after. These are the tail lights. And that is the frame for the windscreen. Okay, so while we're waiting for that gloss primer to dry, we're going to return to the chassis and we're going to hit it with a couple of coats of this X22 clear. Right, I think that will do for that. Now we'll let that dry, and while that's drying we'll start thinking about putting some lacquer on these wheels. Right, now we'll use this All-Clad 2 chrome to do the wheels and those various other little bits. I love this stuff. Right, we'll let this all dry and then I think we can start some final assembly. Right, while I'm just waiting for those other bits to dry, I've just done some work on the glass. So for the windscreen, I've just given the inside of it a coat of this X19 smoke. And what you can see clearly what it does is it tints the glass a little bit and makes it look more like glass and less like plastic. I also used some X24 clear yellow for the headlight glasses. And I say if you look at them from the outside, they actually look pretty good. And I also used X27 clear red to do the tail lights. So those were chromed, and then I've just basically filled them in with clear red. So we're going to let this stuff all dry, and I think then we can finish this thing off. Right, we have a bit of an issue. I was just putting the headlight lenses in and I noticed a problem. And the problem is this. The frame is twisted. Yeah, if I'll try and get this where you can, there you go. I'm sure you can see that. It's twisted. So that's a bit of a bind, but I think I might have a solution. It's one of these things, if I'd have actually realised at the beginning that the frame was twisted, it wouldn't have been too much of a problem, because you could actually do it as a, as it launching, put a driver in it and actually do it as launching, but that's not what I wanted to do. But I have a possible solution. And what I have is this. Now, what is this? Well, this is a circuit board holder. So the way it works is it has, you can adjust it in and out and whatever size you want, and you've got these rotating like claws, if you like, and the idea is you put a circuit board in there and then you can clamp it in place while you're working on it, so it's not lying on the floor, and if you want to get to the back of it you can just flip it over and stuff like that. That's why this one's spring loaded, so it will grip without squeezing too tight. So what I'm going to try and do, and this is a bit kill or cure, is I'm going to try and get this rear frame rail and the front cross member into this thing and see if I can actually twist it. And then possibly, because it doesn't need to go very much, it's only like a few millimeters, but I'm going to put it in, try and straighten it up, and then warm it, probably just with a hairdryer, to be honest, and try and get it to stay put. But yeah, we'll see. So give me a minute to get this set up, and then we'll see if this actually works. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. Right. So I need to move that back about an inch. See, what I've got to be careful of is that is spring loaded, but it does put, it might do there actually. Right, let's lock this down. Okay, now that one's straight, so we'll lock that one. And then what we want to do is now lock this one. That's way too much. Right, I think that's straight. Right, you'll have to excuse me, I'm trying to look down the chassis to make sure it's actually straight. About there, I think, somewhere. Okay. Now I need a ruler. He says not being able to find a ruler. There's a ruler. Right. So what I'll do is I'll measure from the floor to the center of the wheel, front and back, and that should give me the right measurement. So that's 102.5. And that's 102.5. So that should be level now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit it with a hairdryer, and I'll do this off camera, but I'm going to hit it with a hairdryer for a few minutes, and then leave it in this and let it cool down, and hopefully that will straighten it and also not wreck the paint. So cross everything. Right, while that frame's hopefully untwisting, if that works, it'd be a miracle. I'm going to put the wheels together. So the way these work is you have these little metal pins that go, you put them through the brake drum. Let me just, probably easy just to show you. But you put it through the brake drum, and then you put the, you glue the brake drum into the wheel, and then that metal pin pushes through into the end of the axle. So let's see if we can get some of this to work. So we take one of these and we drop it through there like that, and then you see that gives us a pin to push through into the axle, and then that is held in. Basically the brake drum just goes into the wheel like that. So let's see how well this works. Okay. Oh, come here. Oh. Everything's going swimmingly. It's fine, everything's fine. Okay, let's make sure that's in. Something like that. And we'll put the rest of these together. I mean, it's kind of a shame really that you can't really see these brakes very well, because it's nice that they've actually, you know, created these sort of vented drums, or finned drums I should say. And you can't really see them all that well, unfortunately. So I find the easiest thing to do is just push them in and then just give them a little twist, just to make sure they're seated properly and to make sure that the glue's spread all over. And this is another one of these situations where having different types of glue actually helps, because this is a lot easier to do with this Revell contactor than it would be with the solvent. I must admit I like this idea more than what they normally do with these type of kits, where they just have like a solid like steel pin that goes right through the whole thing. Because this means you don't have a steel rod going through the middle of the axle. But still, there you go. We'll let these dry up for a minute and then we'll see if we can get the tyres on. Actually, while that's drying, let's see if we can get these rear lights in. Just be careful with these. Don't want to touch them too much. I must admit, I don't quite like the way these go in, because they go in like straight up and down. I'd actually prefer it if they went inside to side, but the trouble is they won't because of the way these holes are designed. I didn't actually think of that before. It's a shame really, because I'd have rather have had them going side to side, but never mind. It's not the end of the world. Right, let's see if we can get these in here. Oh, this is going to drip. It's the only trouble with these Revell contactor glues. Occasionally when you open the thing, it just immediately starts going everywhere. Right, now let's see if we can get this in here. Stay. Stay. Oh, will you stay? Oh, God's sake. Okay, now this one. Right, that's got those in. I don't want to put the windscreen on yet because I want to get the body onto the chassis before I put the windscreen in, because I think that might make life a bit easier. But I suppose we could put it on now. I don't suppose it would really matter that much. While we're here, as they say. Right, that goes like that. Okay. So let's put a little touch of this here, a little touch in the middle, and a little touch on this side. Okay, that looks alright, doesn't it? Right, we'll give those wheels a few more minutes to set up and then we'll try putting the tyre on. Right, now these definitely have a good side and a bad side. So we want to make sure the bad side is on the inside. Now, this is where the fun's going to start, because I don't want to damage the finish on the wheels if I can avoid it. Oh, brake drum's coming off. Probably would have been easier actually to put the tyres on first and then put the brake drums on afterwards, but still, live and learn. Oh, you know what, let's just take that off for a minute. Right. That's that right. Let's pop this back in. Okay. Right, now, the other thing, which is going to be absolutely hilarious, and I'm really in two minds about this, the white walls. Because part of me wants to put them on, and part of me thinks this is going to be a really bad idea. So I think I might try one and see how it goes. Because I think putting a decal onto a rubber tyre is going to be awkward, to say the least. Right. Now, let's get some... This will be a good advert for the Mr. Mark if it works. Okay. This is going to be the awkward bit. It's just getting the thing off the paper and onto the wheel. Oh, this is going to be awful. I think we're getting there. I think this decal might be a bit too big actually. There's a big fold here. I might have to cut a bit out of it. Alright, let's see if we can get this into place. It actually went on a lot easier than I thought it was going to be fair. Although I have to say, the one thing about this kit that I have not had any problems with is the decals. I've only used a couple of them, but all of them have gone on really nicely. So that is one thing it has going for it. I can cut that out. Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? Okay, I'll do the rest of them and then we'll see what that frame looks like. Oh, right. There are our wheels. They actually went on really, really well. I'm quite pleased with that. I think I might have to look at using decals for tyres in future. So, yeah, very pleased with that. Onwards. Right. Let's take this out of the clamp. It's been in there for about an hour or so after I heated it. So let's see what happens. Some people actually use these, because I bought this because I make circuit boards, but some people actually use these for this precise purpose, for actually building cars. And in fact, I'm kind of tempted to leave this in here while I put the engine in, because I think it'll be easier to hold it. So, but let's just see if it's actually straightened up or not. Oh. Okay. Let's pop that down there. And is it flat? It's definitely better. I'll tell you what, let's try this. Let's just put this to one side for a second, if I can. Actually, let's put it out the way. Now, let's see. This is going to be a laugh. Let's see if we can get these wheels on. Oh, do you know what I'm going to do, actually? I might drill those axles out a little bit, because they feel like they're going to be a really tight fit. Right, let's measure the axles. Try and read a vernier caliper without my glasses on, but that'll be fine. So that is 1.6 mil. Okay, so if we run a 1.5 mil drill into that axle, that should make those easier to put in. Stop myself for a minute. As I say, worst case, I'll just glue the wheels in. I don't actually care if they turn or not. I don't need them to turn. Oh God, this is going to be horrible getting these in here without... That's it. Right. That one's on. Oh. Oh, that feels like something's breaking. This is horrible. Oh. Oh, I think it's just pulled the back plate off. That did. Oh. Oh no, I can't get the damn thing off again. Oh. Remind me why we do this? Now I've pulled the wheel off of the drum. It's just... Come on, out you come. Oh, come on. What I don't want to do is bust the end of the axle off. Oh, I'm just breaking the suspension to bits now. Oh, I had a feeling this was going to happen. Because now it's in and I can't get it back out again. So it's half in and half out and I can't move it either way. Right, just give me a few minutes. Right, after swearing and other foul language, yeah, this is not really done a lot. As far as these wheels go, a couple of things here to mention. If you have this kit, or if you have a kit that has these steel pins that hold the wheels on, firstly, in this case, the pins are too long, so I had to cut them right down, like almost in half, to make them fit, because they were just way too long. And secondly, by the time you actually get them into the place where they're supposed to be, the brake drums are pressed up against the back plates anyway, and the wheels won't turn. So in all fairness, you might as well just glue the drum straight to the back plate, because it's a lot easier, trust me. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yes, it's still not sitting square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in. It's better than it was. So I'm going to put it back in the clamp, and I'm actually going to twist it a little bit the other way and then leave it in the clamps overnight and see what that does. So I'll do that and we'll go from there. Okay, so this has been in the clamps for a couple of days now. Let's see how we've got on. So let's loosen this, and that will spring back a bit. It probably didn't need a couple of days, to be honest, but let's see. Oh, that's not far off. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a lot better than it was. Yeah. Okay, I think that'll do. Right, let's get this clamp out of the way. And I think what we can do now is pop the engine in. So we need that, and we need the prop shaft. And we need some super glue. I've got some gel super glue here as well. So I think I might put some of that on the transmission mount and see what that does on the cross member. That's of course if this hasn't turned into a solid blob. Oh no, it hasn't, it's actually fine. Right. Help if I stop punching the camera. So we'll put this on here. Like that. And then we'll get a drop of this on here. And a drop on this side. Now this is where we're going to be. This is going to be fun. Okay. So I need to hold on to this. Pop that in there. Okay, now let's make sure that's straight, because that doesn't look straight at the moment. Oh, there you go, it's just fell into place. Like that, I think. Now, we want to let that dry, and then we can put the body on. Actually, I think what I might do while I'm doing this is put the radiator in as well. Go on, get in there. That's it. Right, we'll let that dry and then we'll put the body on. Right, let's see if we can get this body on, shall we? Should be good for a laugh. Right. This is quite a tight fit. Stop laughing at the back. Right, that's the back in. Right, I think we're getting there. Right, now for my next trick I need to try and get this coil lead in, so let's get this bent over like that, and then we'll snip the end. Oh, good grief. Try not to knock the radiator off while I'm doing it. Right, get rid of that. Get super glue on there. Let's see if we can get that in. Oh. Probably ought to have my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Right. Okay, now there's one more thing I'm going to try and do. I want to see if I can make a little radiator hose to go there. Right, so for that I'm going to use this. This is a piece of circuit board wire. It actually has a single solid core. Now it's got to go from there up to there. So what we'll do is we'll bend that like that. Might actually make that bend a bit nearer the end. I'll put a little curve on it there. probably cut that too long, but that was kind of deliberate, because better to cut it too long than too short. So that will go in there, and then right, now let's see if we can get that in there. That's it. Right, and I think that is this thing done. Have I got anything else to do to it? You know what, I think we're finished. I think we can wrap this up. And here is our finished article. This was quite a fun little project actually, loosely based on David Freiberger's F-Rod. We have our 1929 Ford with the small block replaced with a 572 cubic inch big block, because why not? So, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this little foray, and I'd like to take a moment to thank my top tier patrons, Howard and Amy, for their continued support, and of course all of my other wonderful patrons. And if you'd like to join them, you're more than welcome to come and join us on Patreon, and of course you're all also welcome to come and join us in the staff canteen on Facebook. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers. Bye.